It was about a day ago I did a video where Mayor Eric Adams was saying that he wanted to deport people that were committing serious crimes. Well, I think he's finally had enough because now Eric Adams is calling to end sanctuary city status for New York City. They are struggling bad with nearly 200,000 migrants that have arrived over an 18-month period. He doesn't want to be a sanctuary city anymore. Interesting. Interesting how rapidly he came to this after that Fox News interview where he said it would be against the law to deport these folks. Now he doesn't seem to want anything to do with being a sanctuary city. So let's get into it. So, Eric Adams, he does not want New York City to be sanctuary. The Democratic leader has faced a fury of backlash as schools, hotels, community centers have been turned over to 180,000 migrants who he has warned will destroy the city. He has been a staunch defender of the decades old sanctuary city status, which forbids city officials from asking questions about a person's immigration status or reveal anything to federal authorities. But he revealed his change of heart after furious residents grilled him about migrant crimes, including January's brutal Times Square attack on two NYPD cops that saw most of the suspects freed on bail within hours of their arrest. We need to modify the sanctuary city law that if you commit a felony or violent act, we should be able to turn you over to ICE and have you deported. He told a town hall meeting Monday night. Mm-mm-mm. More than 560 cities, states, and counties have declared themselves sanctuaries since the early 1980s, and New York adopted the status under former Democratic Mayor Ed Koch. So it goes back quite some time. But sanctuary cities have been a favorite target of governors on the southern border who have bussed thousands of migrants north of them as the migration crisis has gathered steam. Yeah, it sure has. There's a lot of states that are impacted by it. It's not just New York, but New York definitely is dealing with the crime, which they said is going through the roof. Police in the city are not allowed to arrest anyone because they are an illegal immigrant, and the city will not cooperate with an investigation by immigration authorities unless ordered by a court. Adams insists we should protect our immigrants, period, when running for office in October of 2021, adding New York City will remain a sanctuary city under an Adams administration. As recently as last month, he was defending the status after it was attacked by Nikki Haley for encouraging illegal migration during a Republican primary debate. This has nothing to do with sanctuary cities. Migrants and asylum seekers are paroled in the country. They're here legally, he told Fox News, but The city expects to have spent $10.6 billion dollars by the end of 2025 and announced a budget in December that would cut the number of NYPD officers by a fifth and the education cut by $1 billion. Dollars. They said that's going to happen over a 2-year period. Mm-mm-mm. So let me tell you something, New Yorkers, Adams told a public meeting in September. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I do not see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. He faced more pressure this week over his plans for a $53 million debit card scheme that could give families of migrants with 2 children under the age of 17 up to $15,200 a year. Sanctuary status has come under growing pressure in other cities dealing with migrant influx, and Chicago's Democratic leaders are slammed for blocking a vote on ditching its sanctuary city status. And they said at the end of last year, they were supposed to vote on whether to keep Chicago sanctuary or not, and it was blocked. So the people did not get to vote on it. Mayor Brandon Johnson ordered his lieutenants to squash the bid to put the controversial welcoming city ordinance to a referendum on Chicago's March primary ballot. Adams admitted earlier this month that he would use his executive authority to override some sanctuary provisions if he was allowed, as he was challenged by Republican city councilors. So his U-turn was greeted as a welcome change by City Councilman Joe Burrell. But the Legal Aid Society said reform would criminalize the innocent. Yeah, but all those migrants are not innocent. Far from it. What Mayor Eric Adams seeks would result in local law enforcement being able to transfer New Yorkers merely suspected of a crime to ICE, pending local criminal court proceedings, while perpetuating family separation and dividing communities. It said in a statement, Adams blamed Congress for his handling of the crisis on Monday night, insisting his hands were tied by federal laws. People tell me all the time, they see me on the streets and they say, well, Eric, why don't you stop the buses from coming in? It's against the law. I can't, he told the meeting. Why don't you allow those who work, allow them to work? It's against the law, the federal law. I can't. So, the ones that want to work, allow them to work. But he said, you can't just allow them to work. I mean, this is just crazy how they got this whole thing set up. So he goes on and says, why do you say you have to house everyone that comes in? Because that's the law. Why don't you deport those who commit crimes and harm people that are not doing the right thing? He goes on to say it's against the law. I can't. So I am inheriting a national crisis that I have to solve. And we are resolving that crisis like no other city, folks. Go Google other cities You don't see tent cities in New York. You don't see children and families sleeping on the streets in New York. This team has managed the crisis each time they come. Yeah, well, I'm sure the New Yorkers are tired of it. You know, every time I see things coming out of New York, it is just terrible there. And it's not just the crimes happening on the streets. They said a lot of these migrants are breaking out in fights in the shelter. They have split off in groups and they're fighting each other in the shelters, and cops have to go into the shelters and break up fights. And it's just been a nightmare. And then you got everything happening on the streets. And I, I just don't understand how y'all sat down, or somebody in the past sat down and came up with a sanctuary city and made it to the point where no matter what these folks do, they cannot be arrested or deported. That sounds crazy to me. It sounds like y'all allowed possibly people that were immigrants themselves to write these laws, because it just doesn't make any sense. So y'all let me know what you now. Eric Adams is coming out even more, uh, doing an about face in regards to keeping New York sanctuary. He's now saying, he wants to make some big changes in the sanctuary city laws in New York, and he's willing to do it by executive order. Especially my New Yorker subscribers, please let me know what you think of this video. Let me know in the comment section. Oh, wow. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.